I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, liberty and justice for all.
Up next, adoption of the agenda. Anyone move to adopt the agenda, please?
I move to adopt the agenda as presented.
Seconded.
Then seconded, any discussion? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. The agenda has been adopted. Next on the agenda, we have staff, students, and school recognition.
All right, we will begin actually with Lincoln Elementary. So if you will. Maybe you want to come up here and you can talk anyway.
All right, well, two of them are working right now, but we were hoping that they would be able to be here because we do definitely want to recognize all the hard work that staff and students and families are putting in every day. Okay. So, and we especially wanted to recognize three people who have been consistently at Lincoln through everything that we've been through in these last few years and beyond. So we wanted to recognize our three custodians, our head custodian, Jose Sanchez, who's been a part of the Woodburn School District since 1999. He started subbing then. Jose Leonardo, who started in 2011, subbing as well. And Lucina Cortez, who also started subbing when the pandemic started. So this was a message we had for Jose, and Lucina. Dear Jose, and Lucina, you come to work with a smile on your face, coming early, staying late, and sometimes both. Jose Sanchez, you graciously moved from the high school to lead the charge in an unfamiliar building and help all of us, from kindergarten to many decades older. Jose Leonardo, we watched as the modular buildings you took great care of for many years get deconstructed or towed away, making way for the new building. Lucina Cortez, you joined us in the middle of a pandemic, subbing as often as you could, and we are so glad to work with you on a permanent basis. Jose, and Lucina, we see you keep our building inside and out safe and clean. You helped us all feel safe when schools closed and construction began in 2020. As some of us returned for limited in-person and hybrid learning the following year, you made sure classrooms in all areas had what was needed: wipes, gloves, and masks at least. You went the extra mile and still do, ensuring areas are sanitized, clean, and preparing for events during the school day and after school. You supported Lincoln through extended day, after school club, summer school, evening and weekend events, preparing for the first days of school each year, and once again, Family University. Even though you're out and about when you're at Lincoln, you're easy to find and always quick to lend a hand and support every person who asks you. And I'm sure there are countless things you do that we are not aware of for the good of the school community. Your humility, hard work, and dedication to Lincoln Elementary and Woodburn families is appreciated more than we can express. Thank you sincerely.
All right, thank you. And
Thank
then
you.
if you'll introduce yourself, which I should have done. at the
I'm
beginning,
so sorry.
but That's okay.
Would you like to?
I'm Alejandra Mateos. I am my first year.
And I'm Sarah Flynn, I'm the principal at Lincoln.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you want us to do our report?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
We had a recognition and then report. And we're back. Thank
Great.
you.
All right. So yeah, so this is Board Chair Villa Moreno, board members, and Superintendent Morlock. We thank you for this opportunity to share a little bit about the work that's going on at Lincoln and how we're working toward district and of course our school goals together as a school community. This was only a few weeks ago, which I guess would be 8 weeks ago now, right? So the walls were pretty bare then. they don't look that way anymore, and we invite you to come and see all the things that are going on and all that we have on there. We'll have some other photos with some of our evidence of what's going on in our buildings and what's on the walls in just a few slides. So we're going to start out talking about how all students will graduate ready to pursue college career options and success in life, and how we're working towards that.
Some of the ways that we are accomplishing this goal is through social emotional learning that's happening in our classrooms, designated time for content, language, and then partnerships, and Sarah will elaborate.
So social emotional learning was something that is not just unique to Lincoln. That's definitely not something even unique to Woodburn, but something that is consistent and something we've made a consistent part of our days. At Lincoln specifically, we have our students come in and have breakfast in their classrooms and have that time that also goes into social emotional learning. So there's definitely the designated time as well as that time where they have to connect with their peers as well as their teacher, anybody else who's in the classroom, and those of us out in the halls and out and about at the breakfast time, not necessarily during their time in their classroom. As far as our designated time for content and language, the 4 of our schools work together to be consistent in our time for math, for language arts, for science and social studies, all those areas, and making sure that we are consistent in our instruction in all of the languages that we're teaching in, depending on the school, depending on the classroom. We also have our designated time for language, of course, for English language development. And at Lincoln, we have English enrichment. We offer Spanish enrichment for those of our students who are accelerated in Spanish and want to keep furthering themselves with that. And Spanish is a foreign language for our students who are perhaps in an English plus class, but wanting a bit of Spanish. And then as far as our partnerships go, it's neat to see that we're starting to emerge again and grow a little bit. Again, not unique to Lincoln. Our counselors take our 5th graders to visit Oregon State University, and they just connected recently, so we'll be able to do that this year. We also have Smile Club at Lincoln, and I know that's, again, not necessarily unique to Lincoln, but it's a science and math investigative learning experience for our older students, and it's something that continues to middle school. So it's not just something that stays at our school. We have Smart Start, Making a Reader Today, which is smart if you condense that. And that's a partnership we have where the students who participate receive a book a month for free and have some guest readers who come in. So we are definitely open for volunteer applications, and we're getting those and processing them, getting them sent on as fast as we can. Something that is new that I can't talk too much about yet, but I'm anxious to next year is our partnership with Success High School. So we're going to have some students who come and work with our students. And so that's a plan in the works that we're excited to get going. And then last year, all 4 of the schools, as you know, we started extended day. So we have a more consistent scheduling for all of our students who are invited after school. And then we offer some extended enrichment opportunities for them as well, where we can bring in some outside partners. Here's some examples of a couple of things. One you see on a whiteboard in the middle, which again shows a teacher. I think this is just before the first day of school. That again shows kind of the sequence of the day without the times, but social emotional learning at the top, and then the language of instruction is the language that the content area is written in. On the right and left are examples of pieces of our positive behavioral and interventions and supports that we have in place, and our dolphin deeds are to the left. So that is one way that we recognize students on a daily. We catch them doing good things, which, you know, there's not enough dolphin deeds for all the great things that they do, but students put those into a drawing, and counselors draw their names once a week, and we celebrate students and their great behavior, and they have a little PBIS recess time once a week. So another goal we have as a district is to strengthen our culture of engagement centered in equity.
Some of the things that we're doing are building relationships and connections, engaging family and community in activities, and then providing supplies and resources and making those accessible to our families.
So thinking about that again, as far as partnerships and relationships and connections, again, thinking about what we are doing with our social emotional learning time. We also have some students who are checking in individually with adults in the building who have different relationships. I hope Jose is behind us now because he has a special relationship with one of our first graders. So it's really fun. It's just some kids just click with some of us, that it's just a neat thing to see. And it's a consistent part of their day. As far as, again, we have our extended day that we're adding in some more pieces where we can connect with community members, but that's emerging and it'll be exciting to see. And I welcome you all to come and watch what goes on after Thanksgiving break when we start. Thank you. As far as families and community members being engaged, last year we had a unique opportunity. There's a picture after this where we had an illustrator, Joseph Eva, who's right in the middle there, who illustrated Esperanza Rising. He offered workshops that were connected to our writing standards for 2nd through 5th graders, and he did it by Zoom. We were still under masks and not allowing too many people in the building at that time. And then as things opened up in the spring, I guess what? It was the end of his time. He'd had a culminating visit and he was a rock star when he came in. So he got to go work with students got to work with him, and we had a family event. So we're looking forward to just bringing the same traditional events, bringing in new things that we wouldn't have thought about doing before the pandemic. And on the bottom right there, you see Character Day. That was last year. So we're looking forward to having that this next Monday. Field trips are, opening back up again, of course. So teachers are planning on those. And I can't say enough about the staff and the community at Lincoln, just supporting each other and trying to make everyone feel welcome, and as hard as they're all working. So that being said, I just want to thank you for the opportunity for us to talk a little bit about what's going on in Lincoln, and hope to see you at our school soon. Thank you. Thank you. Jose, can I recognize you? This is Jose Sanchez. This is our head guitar.
We can have all of you like join the board for that.
Yeah.
Over here. All right.
That was perfect. Good.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions? There, you might have questions.
What? All right. So Alejandro, she may have,
We have questions.
Noemi may have a question or two. Oh, yeah. Bring Sarah back up. We may have a question for you.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Sure. So one of the questions is in regards to school performance. And so we know that, COVID really created a learning for many of our students. And so what does that look like for Lincoln? And what specifically are we doing to help students?
A good question. It's a big question. And well, one, doing our best to align with what the other schools are doing in the district. So it's not just Lincoln deciding to do something that's different than everybody else. Absolutely. As I mentioned, we are following our schedule as far as when we have our designated literacy time, that's our designated literacy time, math time as well. All content areas, and as far as the language of instruction, paying attention to that. Along with that, And we have our assessments that teachers have at the classroom level. Also looking at what we have at the district level, and as you mentioned, what we have as far as our state report card and what we have at all levels. So working with our teams, so we have our school data teams, our professional learning communities, and we're meeting consistently and holding those meetings, and we're a part of those, and coaches are a part of those when they're in our building, our resource teacher too. Work together and go through the processes that aren't new to us as far as being able to see what is the data looking like, so we can plan and differentiate instruction based off of where students are at on Thursday. It's daily. I can say that there is some daily piece, but as a school Thursday, Thursday afternoons we meet.
Any other questions?
You're fine.
So, what are some volunteer opportunities? How do parents engage? We talked about engagement, so how can parents get involved?
Well, like I said, we're just starting the field trips again. So we talked about that at in-service even, and said, hey, teachers, because we had some teachers that were ready to go in the springtime, and because everything started opening up, we had some teachers eager to do that. So they reached out to families. And we did that during in-service and beyond. So field trips, we have some parents that are coming in, and not just parents, but community members coming in and working in classrooms and working with students, of course, under the supervision of a teacher. And then we have other projects. So we know that not everybody can come in and work if they want to volunteer and help out. For example, their child's teacher, it might be we send laminating home. And a parent might be able to cut out, or a grandma might be able to cut out some laminating and send it with the student the next day. But, and again, like I mentioned, SMART, so there's readers coming in and reading with kids. And so there's emerging opportunities. Our counselor is looking at having a family night, and so we're actually working with her on what that might look like to bring in some other volunteers that night, as well as our other family nights. It's been a couple years, so having to brainstorm that again and bring in people where it makes sense.
So parents are not allowed in the class?
Oh, they are. Yeah.
What's the process for a parent who wants to volunteer?
So filling out the volunteer packets and getting that back to us. So we've been able to, in the office of Estelle, are at guiding parents to it online, but we have packets made in English and Spanish, and we send them home as soon as we hear of anybody who wants one. So, and then we had a welcome back night before school started. We had open house conferences. We had an abundance of volunteer packets ready to go. Ms. Mateos, when she presented our Title I presentation, she had them ready to go and talked about it there too. So we're trying to advertise as much as we can. Plus, of course, through our newsletter and other areas.
And the last question is in regards to mental health and challenging behavior. And so one, what does that look like in your school? And I know suspension does happen. And so what does that look like for everyone?
So I just start with suspension. It looks like it has, as far as the process goes. We follow process for as far as what the district has for us going, and if we ever suspend a student, and if we suspend a student, to have a plan in place to help the student, right? It's not to say we don't want you in school. We absolutely want kids in school. As far as mental health, what I can speak to right now is the social emotional learning piece. And the visitors who come in, and I am not speaking from volunteers, I'm speaking about other district personnel who've been in and observed in the classrooms to give general feedback. It's the openness that they've observed of kids expressing how they feel in the morning when they come in. And that isn't necessarily the only time. Most teachers have SEL specifically scheduled at that time, but like I mentioned, there's check-ins with kids throughout the day. Jose behind me could tell you some stories of what he checks in with kiddos at lunchtime. But to speak specifically to mental health, that's what I could speak to, is what we're doing instructionally in the classroom and the relationships that we're building.
And so there's a need for mental health increase.
Has the need, You know, I don't know how that I could measure that without pulling specific data, perhaps from our DESA. So I don't know if I could quite speak to that question.
I could look at them just kind of thinking, for those who are in need, do they have access?
Well, and what I could say is that, you know, we definitely have access to homeschool contacts who are knowledgeable about other community support, yeah, and resources. And the fact that we have a social worker now in the building too, has been I mean, I know you're not just a Lincoln, he's at all of our schools, but that's a new role that is new to us and an extra support. So, but could I speak to all the pieces? I couldn't do that right at this moment. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're gonna move on to French Prairie.
I'll take the role chair.
I'll have the gentlemen introduce themselves and then we'll move into your votes present.
I'm Art Hotelling. I'm the principal at French Prairie Middle School.
I'm Jeff Smith. I'm the assistant principal there. Good to meet you guys.
So first, I'd like to thank all of you guys for hiring me. So I'd like to recognize a few staff members. First, I'd like to recognize Jeff Smith. So my story real quick. My first day was the teacher's second day. So it was hit the ground sprinting as I got there, and Jeff was getting stuff set up for us as I came in on Tuesday. And so Jeff has done this amazing job of getting things running during in-service week. And he's been an amazing thought partner. So kind of, again, part of my story, I came from a really small school district. I was one of two administrators in the entire school district. So having somebody that I could actually talk to and just process with things was amazing. And he's amazing at building relationships with our kids. So thank you, Jeff.
And thanks, Jeff.
Next, I'd like to recognize Audia Mendoza Perez. She's our head secretary. Regrettably, she's not here this evening because it's her son's senior night for soccer. So she is there celebrating him. But she's done a great job of just making sure we have coverage. That's been an issue in our building with subbing. So she's really helped us with that and just helping me learn the school and the culture and what happens at French Prairie Middle School. And then last, I'd like to recognize Simi. She's here in the audience. Miss Wage. She's one of our science teachers, and she's been really instrumental in helping me learn the history of our school and kind of figuring out how she can be a voice for our staff. And I feel really comfortable when she comes to me when she has a concern or the staff has a concern. I feel like we have that ability to communicate with one another and just trying to circle back. And she, along with other staff, but she's one of our leaders on our PBIS team, which is really kicking off in the full year throughout the school year. So thank you so much, Cindy, for all your help.
We'll have a wait up front and then we'll take, we'll do one of them. So we can just hang it right as well, yeah, and then we'll whip it and do them all.
All right.
So the next, I'd like to recognize some students. And this was kind of challenging for me because, you know, I've been on the job now for 8 weeks or so and just getting to know the kids. And so the opportunity to get to know these kids and just seeing them, I'm really interacting with them at lunchtime in the hallways, when I'm getting into classrooms and just seeing the kids. The first kid I'd like to recognize is Philip Price. Hey, Philip, is he there?
Stand up,
Oh, yeah,
let everybody see it.
Phil, he's a great student. He's always asking great questions and he makes class fun and interesting. He makes lunch fun and interesting too. He's also a football player. Do you do track too? Track and wrestling, so.
And how many corn dogs did you eat the other day? 4 corn dogs.
Yeah.
You got 4 corn dog kid right
Yeah. So, Phil is just a great kid. He's just a kid who, every single 8th grade lunch, I see him and he's always smiling. And anytime there's any leftovers, he's our guy. He's one of our guys, and, one of the football coaches telling me that after he does football, he then goes to wrestling practice after that, right? So, kids keeping him busy, and he's, like I said, he's doing excellent in school, and he's a leader in our school, so. Thank you, Phil. Yep. You want to do the next one?
All right, yeah, our next one, from the 7th grade, we have, Giselle. She's a student who we have just encountered so many times, who is extremely thoughtful, helpful, brings some positive energy just to our entire student body whenever we get that opportunity. She's also a member of the ballet that, we've had, we're gonna be talking about a little bit, that the community knows well, and is just an amazing performer and somebody that we've absolutely enjoyed. Vector, here, stand up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Why
she's
you
always
come on
smiling.
I'll stand. You can sit in this hotel.
Yeah. And the last thing I would like to recognize is Emma Linden. She is a super helpful young lady. I don't. But Emma, she's a great kid. Again, she's another kiddo who's always smiling. Like you just see her in the lunchroom. You see her in the hallways. You see her when you goes in the classroom. She's just helpful, and she's engaged in her learning. I had a great conversation with her dad earlier today, and he's just ecstatic that his daughter is here in our school district, and also son is actually at the high school, so he was really just saying the praises of our school district. So kudos on our kids and our school district.
Great group. Are we gonna do the photo now?
We are.
Let's do it.
All right.
Let's get the- come on up. Yeah, don't follow me. Follow me. You'll leave.
Yeah, Jeff, you have a choose with me too.
Oh, I do. Rachel. You can give me the phone. She's the best.
Hold up your certificate, please.
Thank you very much.
All right. I can just everybody. 1, 2, 3, and do one more. Good, thank you.
Thank you. And board, don't go too far.
So
We're gonna do one more, we'll do one more. We actually do have, Lucina and Jose. Baraj. Oh, yeah. Okay, we're doing one more. Baraj.
You guys can answer our questions.
Yeah.
She wouldn't know.
That's great.
You think of the 80s.
All right, we're gonna roll into strengthening your culture of engagement. Another thing you've
Yep.
got at French Prairie.
So, some things that we've done here at French Prairie, and actually, I'll let you take this slide.
Is there one before?
Oh.
This is the first one.
No.
Oh,
yeah,
wait,
this is
no,
the
this
first
is the first one. All right, so when we start talking about, one of the big things that we're kind of focusing on is preparing our students for success in life. So then this year we were able to add some math Spanish courses on, so every single grade is getting that experience right now, 6th through 8th grade. And for the students that are part of the bilingual program. So you can see on some of those pictures up there, some of the things that we're trying to incorporate more into the school, especially for our bilingual students, is more signage and postage around in the classrooms, outside the classrooms, so that they're really getting more of a 50-50 split between the languages. Yes, some of our signage that's already around the school was already like that, but being able to add more just gets more involved in their life, helping them with it. You see, this is one of our classrooms that one of our teachers has set up, just so you guys can kind of see what it looks like inside of the classroom for our students. And many of our teachers are able to, move it around, be able to make it their own dependent on the lesson that they have that day. Yeah, that slide.
So strengthening our culture, this was one thing that when I came to French Prairie, I was planning, okay, we're gonna plan Latin Heritage Month. And I was kind of surprised that it really hadn't been something that had been celebrated at French Prairie for a long time. So one of our teachers, Miss Valise, she's our AVA teacher, came to a meeting. I said, all right, who would like to be on the committee? She comes to the meeting, she's got a binder, she's like, all right, here it is. And she had this binder and she ran with it, and it was amazing. So we had some things going on in the building. We had a door decorating contest. And so the homeroom that had the best,
The door.
what we judged to be the best door, got a pizza party for the kids. And so that they're actually gonna be celebrating that tomorrow. And then we had Politico, thank you. I should be able to say that. My mom would kill me if I didn't. Come to the school and perform. It was amazing. The kids, even though we ran a little late, I mean, there was still a little grumbling. We ran, probably about
5, 6.
a few minutes, probably close to 10 minutes late. And the kids were just they were silent. They were just enjoying this opportunity to see this dancing happening from the various parts of Mexico, celebrating their heritage. We also had papel picado in some of the hallways. Some hallways are better than others, but they were decorated throughout the school. Next slide, please.
And all made by the students. so
And,
that
yeah,
they
this is
can be
all student made.
involved. Yeah.
We had the mariachi band, which was a huge hit. It was amazing. The band played for us one Wednesday, back to back lunches, and the kids, the only thing the kids missed out on, and it's probably something we're gonna change for next year, is they want to start dancing. That was the one thing. They were like, can we dance? I'm like, "No,
Not yet.
not yet." So, but that's something we want to revisit for next time, because it was a humongous hit. The kids were so ecstatic watching and listening to the music being played. It was, I mean, you could literally hear it probably outside the school. I mean, they sounded so amazing. So, and again, there were connections, there were partnerships. I mean, that's the high school mariachi band that came down, and we fed them lunch. And so they came down, we're in the building for about an hour and a half, and then they got some lunch, and then they headed back to high school. And that happened to be the day that we celebrated also for Teacher of the Year. So they actually happened to be already all ready to go. So they just came to French Prairie, which actually worked out great timing wise. And up there's some more examples of some of the doors that were decorated. And honestly, one thing that Jeff and I realized what we need to do for our school is to create this sense of FOMO, fear of missing out, doing things at school that are making school fun for kids. It was so challenging during the pandemic, right? Kids, they had to wear masks and they had to do all these things. They weren't allowed to be close to each other, distancing, all those things. And now we're getting that sense of normalcy again. So we're just really working on that as a school, working with our staff to build that.
Yeah, and then one thing to build off of that is we can increase our scores if the students aren't in their seats. So getting that culture of the fear of missing out, that the kids want to be there. Kids that miss these days are still talking about, man, I can't believe I missed this day and didn't get to go to school. Because we know that if we can get them into the school building, then we can really start working on the academic piece, to be able to start increasing our scores and looking at things like that. So this is a huge part of our overall plan that we'll be able to answer. I'm sure you guys have some questions on those. And to give you an example, we had one kid who's chronically absent all the time, and he's now made it, what, 6, 7 days in a row?
Yeah, this.
Which
I think
is
it's been six
huge.
years.
I mean, when he was making it once a week for years. And now he's actually saying, hey, I want to come to school. And now he's checking in with us. He's found that trusted adult in the building that he can go to. And a lot of that has to come down to implementing things like this, finding those amazing teachers, the amazing students that we have that can really take some autonomy in their job and just be like, I've been waiting years to do this Land and Heritage Month. I'm ready. And just saying, you know what, run with it, do these amazing things, and let's work together to create partnerships with the students, the staff, and the families around our school.
And support each other. And as a matter of fact, it's not in our report, but this week we're doing Spirit Week, so that's why I'm dressed like this. Normally I would be dressed just like Dr.
I'm
Morlock.
90s.
Yeah,
You can't
he's
tell.
90s. I was 80s. If you were seen with my collar up and my pants pegged, you would have gone, oh God, what a dork. But anyway, this week we're doing Spirit Week. So tomorrow is Book Character Day.
Yep.
And then Thursday is higher education. And then Friday is Dress to Impress. And we're doing a school dance.
First school dance we've had in a while, so we're really looking forward to that. And the kids are too. Next slide.
Again, strengthening our culture, again, up there, more of our doors that were decorated. And again, we just have been really trying to strategically rebuild the culture. And again, making school fun again and getting kids wanting to be there and welcomed and smiling and just doing our best to make it so where kids want to be there and also families want to be there. We had a great turnout for open house. We also had a pretty doggone turnout for parent-teacher conferences. Teachers were busy. I mean, we were all the way up till, I don't know, 8:15, 8:30 on Wednesday night and then also on Thursday. So
Getting amazing participation at our sport events and our activities and clubs, just all the little things that make school where you want to be.
and actually tonight, right now, as we're speaking, we're actually having a parent club meeting at the library. So we're just getting parents, again, getting them back here. And we're looking at trying to build those partnerships more with parents. We have paperwork for volunteers, but we're also partnering with the homeschool. Well, our homeschool, can't think of the last, what the C is. Contact.
Yeah,
Thank
there
you.
we go. HSC.
HSC.
Boo, boo.
Boo boo. And having a parent night, like a parent group night, but then also having an opportunity for parents to be able to do the video, to do a lot of the pieces that might be a barrier for them to not be able to come into the building, doing that as a group, feed them dinner. Here we go, we're gonna watch this video together if we have any questions, and then getting that piece done, so that way we can get our parents to help out. We want to get parents to come in and help supervise lunch times, our passing periods, so we can get, our staff does an amazing job of getting in the hallways and between every passing period. It's really great to see because they're out there talking with the kids, just having,
Above and beyond.
yeah, above and beyond that. And it's to every teacher, and this was teacher generated. This is something we talked about in in-service week, where like the PBI's team was like, we need to do this, guys, because it's Jeff and I, but if it's a whole staff, there's adults there that are just, and building that relationship as they're in the hallway. Come on, guys, let's go. You need something, and the lockers can be a bit of a challenge for some of the kids.
They haven't used them for years.
Yeah, and they're kind of difficult times, so we give them some help to open up those lockers up to make sure they are not late to class.
Next slide, please.
That's it.
That might be your.
No, we might have one more. But no,
Unless it's
this is
just
it.
open for questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, question.
What after school clubs or opportunities are seeing now?
Oh, man. So we got a whole list, going back to like just really opening up autonomy for our staff about things that they're interested in that they can share with students. So we have our Ally Club, Smile Club. We have a games club, which they're running Genesis, which is like D&D. We've got, currently tutoring is opening up when we start talking about putting in the academics and opportunities for students that maybe don't have the opportunity to do stuff at home. Being able to meet with our teachers. After that, we have after school club, obviously running, the normal district, operated type of activities and clubs. We have the sports throughout each season that all of our 7th and 8th graders can participate in, including a couple of sports that our 6th graders can participate in.
Wrestling, which starts here
Yeah, soon.
next week.
Yeah, right, Philip, soon? Right, Philip knows. As well as, man, I was looking over that list right before this. But then we also open up the opportunity that teachers are saying, hey, we want to be able to include this. Bring it up to us. Let's talk about logistics and let's make that happen. We've been working with First Student, the bus company, quite a bit, making sure that we have buses to be able to get our kids home.
We currently have 2 activity buses, one that comes at 5:30, and another one comes at 5:45. And then takes kids home that need the bus right home.
Yeah. And then we're also opening it up to where we can have the students, if they're not going to participate in any of those clubs, they can come watch their friends. We do require a parent to be present
Or an adult.
or an adult, a trusted adult that can claim that kid and say, yep, I'm here with them, or, you know, on the spot saying, yep, I'm more than happy to watch this kid at this event. Just help deviate and be more proactive instead of reactive to potential issues. But then also to create that that engagement piece, that culture of that, hey, we're not just here for the staff and the students, we're also here for the families. And we just want to get people into the building because post-pandemic, that's one of the biggest things is, you know, if we want to be able to really increase our connection with those families, we want all of us to be able to have a place to meet, and that's French Prairie. Any other questions, comments?
I have one comment and one question. I didn't see you highlight this in your presentation, but I've been to a couple of volleyball games and I was surprised and felt good to see you highlight all your Latinx staff. I think that's great practice to, and the students, the parents that walk into schools and then the staff to see themselves up there. So great job there. And this question is, it's gonna be a tough one, guys.
Okay.
Why pizza instead of tacos?
Well, we did an entire week of themed lunches. So, you know, they had a big fill of tacos. We have Cindy and Olga and all of our people in the lunchroom, our nutrition services staff is amazing.
Yeah.
Frequently making enchiladas each week for these students and a lot of stuff. So when we look at, you know, other options, we want to just make sure we're hitting the full wheel of food options.
All right, any other comments, questions?
Question. So tell me a bit about the challenge. What's something that's challenging in this?
So for me personally, I think just the sheer number of kids and how to build relationships with those kids, because there's so many kids and there's so many great kids that are making great choices every single day. And how do I do a good job of recognizing those kids? Because the ones that are making the greatest choices, right? They kind of really, they come to the top and they're the ones that we're interacting a lot with. But so how do I be more intentional about how do I build that relationship with those kids that are making the right choices? Because 85% of our kids, 90% of our kids are making the right choices. They're not getting in trouble. So building that relationship and how do I be more intentional about getting to those kids that are making the right choices all the time?
And then I would add on to that, just saying that French Prairie has been through the ringer. They've had multiple, I got told by one teacher in the past 7 years, I'm his 10th, you're his 11th administrator that they've had. And that's not healthy for a school. We want to be here a long time. We want to be there for these students and we want to see them progress 6th, 7th, 8th into high school, go to their high school graduation and see those successes. My background comes from a lot of alternative backgrounds, you know, where there have been behavioral issues and being able to include parents in decision-making process for their students, as well as making sure that it's fair and justifiable, that the kids not only just say, hey, you know, you're talking to me, I feel like I'm in trouble, but instead of saying, well, let's look at what happened and let's change our mindset. And that's going to take time, changing the mindset in a culture of school where for years it has been really focused on, you know what, we're kind of left on our own. We don't feel like we have support. and being there, making sure that we are available and making sure that we're not only making sure that we're available, but the resources are presented and known to everybody. So that when things do arise, we are making it transparent on how we're making decisions and that they can see, hey, there are better solutions out there for the future and that they're not feeling stuck in a rut or stuck without support.
And also trying to focus on how do we make it right? Right, the restorative justice piece, right? We can consequence things forever, right? And give them, suspend kids and detentions and all those things, but does that really change behavior? And Jeff and I have the philosophy, it's really about student behavior and how we can change it. And what are you gonna do? How can you make this right? Here's what happened and here's what I think, why do you think this is a wrong thing to do? And trying to get them to realize that, as a 6th, 7th, 8th grader, that they do have choices and what they're building right now is what they're gonna become later on in life. So do I expect kids to mess up? Absolutely. I mean, it's all development appropriate. Sometimes, they're so about
11
themselves.
through 14 years old.
Right? It's all about them. It's all about them. So how can we get them to start seeing, yes, it is about you. It's development appropriate. However, let's start to think more globally, right? Your actions affect others. So, it's going to take time and we know it's not going to happen overnight, but I'm willing to put the time and energy into it. I'm so excited about the opportunity to be in Woodburn School District. Like I said earlier, coming from a small school district when I was one of 2 administrators, being able to talk to a team is just so amazing. Hey, phone a friend, I need a little help with this, or you have any ideas about this? It's a great opportunity. And I think, what I bring to the table coming from a small school is watching, these kids. I literally watch kids go from preschool all the way through high school and watch them graduate. And I would love to kind of, be able to be that person that's going to be there that can watch these kids go from not preschool. Sometimes they act like they're preschoolers, but, from 6th grade and watch them graduate and watch them grow up to be, amazing young adults because they are truly our future. And that's why I'm an educator is because I believe, kids are our future and we as adults need to help guide them become the best of themselves.
I do have one.
Sure.
So tell me a bit about, so it's middle school and they're going through development stage. And so sometimes they don't always get along. And so do students feel safe in school?
I would say we're a work in progress. For some of our classes, the culture has been, the solution has been, I'm going to go up and I'm going to fight somebody. And so that's something that we're struggling with. Just going to be honest with you. And we're working on, again, we're working on restorative justice. Just yesterday, actually, we brought a group of kids in to talk about how can we make this relationship between you, in this case, it happened to be young ladies. How can we make this relationship better with you guys so we're not constantly having the drama and all the things. So,
and another example, we've had 2 boys fight recently, brought in both sets of parents, asked them if they were okay if we all met together, sat at a table together so that both sides could air out any issues that they have or perceived issues, because a lot of this stuff with social media, TikTok, Snapchat, rumors spread like wildfire. Things that are not true spread like wildfire. So when these students start hearing opposing sides and from their friends that these things are being said, it's like, well, let's go straight to the source. Let's sit down together and talk. Well, they ended up rekindling an old friendship. They ended up shaking hands and then they ended up hugging when they came back, and they were able to exchange letters that they had to write at home during their suspension with each other. That was an apology letter. And then the next day after that, we see them walking together in the hallways as friends. And it's little things like that to where we want students to feel safe. This is a place where you can come. We have safety plans put into place as far as our supervision plans, making sure that, every area of the corner and the hot spots that we've identified are being observed during passing times and things like that. We're sitting down with the SRO. We're sitting down with the safety
sitting down with parents.
We're sitting down with parents because for years, the solution has been suspend and come back with nothing else. And instead it goes, no, if we're going to do some restorative justice, we need to sit down and have these discussions. We need to go through barrier entry forms. We need to get down to the root of the problem. And then also incorporate all stakeholders to make these decisions, you know, for the best interest so that kids can be safe at this school.
And have kids be part of the solution because they're, right, it's them, it's their learning, it's their school. And so how can we, again, focus on trying to develop into young human beings?
Yeah, since day one, I've been hearing from students about safety concerns they have from the past and from the present, just because things that happen over the weekends. There are fights that happen out over the weekends. We are working with the local stakeholders and being able to identify these things ahead of time so that they do not come into the school. And as of right now, you know, you can't put a number on how many stops we have or how many fights we have stopped, but we know of many potential ones that have happened outside of school that they're trying to bring back in. And getting those parents and those students and behavioral specialists, counselors, people that they need to support them to help them change those mindsets. Yeah, of course. Yeah, and of course, invite you guys to school, come check it out. Obviously, you've been in through volleyball games and been able to see some of the stuff. We do have some, our last game tomorrow. We got football playing at the high school until 8 p.m. And we also have tons of other fun activities to come, and invite everybody, come check it out. Fun stuff. Awesome. Well, thank you guys.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Joe.
Up next, we have public comment. First today is Tony Song.
Good evening. My name is Tony Som. I'm a first grade bilingual educator in Heritage Elementary School. I'm also the president of the Woodburn Education Association. Superintendent Morlock, members of the Woodburn School Board, and esteemed colleagues and people of the community. I'm here today as are many parents in our community to ask that WSD make both a practical and moral commitment to the long-term health and vitality of its dual language programs. When it comes to dual language, Woodburn is most definitely a pioneer. We're seen as an innovator in promoting the long-term benefits of bilingualism and are looked up to by districts around the state as a model for how to structure dual language programs. I was very fortunate to have been teaching at Woodburn when these programs first got off the ground. There were multiple trainings, there was extensive professional development, and we were sent to both to conferences in other states and schools in other districts. I've watched former students of mine thrive through this program and become successful bilingual educators, now colleagues of mine. Unfortunately, however, in recent years, these programs have lacked coordination, have suffered from benign neglect, and have experienced an exodus of qualified staff. There's been an abject failure over many years to aggressively recruit bilingual staff for crucial positions, especially at the middle and high school levels. We are encouraged that Woodburn School District is, after many years of silence on the topic, once again communicating to its educators about its two-way dual language immersion programs and its benefits to our students. We're also encouraged that it is reviving the Dual Language Advisory Board, the very existence of which was unknown by our superintendent as recently as September 21st of this year. We would like to see a serious effort for once to fully staff our bilingual programs and to finally follow through on the promise of a fully staffed dual language program K-12 for Woodburn students. It's not enough to proclaim on paper that the fully staffed program exists. An actual and sustained commitment is required. It's not enough to revive an advisory board that will come up with recommendations somewhere down the road. In this light, it's baffling that the WSD bargaining team seems to reject the very idea of keeping a written commitment to dual language in an enforceable document. The need is urgent. Action must be taken immediately. The Woodburn community is watching what direction we decide to take. Hoy voy a hablar en español. Soy Tony Sam, soy maestro de primer grado bilingüe en la escuela Heritage primaria. También soy presidente de la Asociación de Educadores de Woodburn. Superintendente Morlock, miembros de la Junta Escolar de Woodburn, estimados colegas y miembros de la comunidad. Estoy aquí hoy, al igual que muchos padres de nuestra comunidad, para pedir que el distrito haga un compromiso, tanto práctico como moral, con la vitalidad a largo plazo de sus programas bilingües. Cuando se trata de lenguaje dual, Woodburn es definitivamente un pionero. Somos vistos como innovadores en la promoción de los beneficios a largo plazo del bilingüismo, y los distritos de todo el estado nos admiran como un modelo de cómo estructurar programas de 2 idiomas. Tuve la suerte de haber estado enseñando en Woodburn cuando estos programas despegaban por primera vez. Hubo múltiples capacitaciones, hubo un extenso desarrollo profesional y nos enviaron tanto a conferencias en otros estados como a escuelas en otros distritos. He visto exalumnos míos prosperar a través de este programa y convertirse en educadores bilingües exitosos, ahora colegas míos. Lamentablemente, sin embargo, en los últimos años, estos programas han carecido de coordinación, han sufrido una negligencia bilingüe y han experimentado un éxodo de personal calificado. Ha habido un fracaso abierto durante muchos años para reclutar agresivamente personal bilingüe para puestos cruciales, especialmente en los niveles de secundaria y preparatoria. Nos alienta que el distrito, después de muchos años de silencio sobre el tema, una vez más se comunica con sus educadores sobre sus programas de inmersión bidireccional en 2 idiomas y sus beneficios para nuestros estudiantes. También nos alienta que esté reviviendo a Junta Asesora de Lenguaje Dual, cuya existencia misma era desconocido por nuestro superintendente tan recientemente como el 21 de septiembre de este año. Nos gustaría ver serios esfuerzos para dotar completamente la personal de nuestros programas bilingües y finalmente cumplir con la promesa de un programa bilingüe con personal completo de kinder hasta secundaria para los estudiantes de Woodburn. No es suficiente proclamar en papel que existe un programa con personal completo, se requiere un compromiso real y sostenido. No es suficiente revivir una junta asesora que presentará recomendaciones en algún momento del camino. En ese sentido, es desconcertante que el equipo de negociación del distrito rechace la idea de poner en papel un compromiso de mantener ese programa en nuestro contrato. La necesidad es urgente. Se deben tomar medidas de inmediato. La comunidad de Woodburn está observando qué dirección decidimos tomar. Muchas gracias.
Thank you. I missed noting this, but if we can please limit our public comment to 3 minutes. That's why the alarm went off. I
Okay.
don't want to interrupt you, but for others here in the
Okay.
future.
As past practice, I believe, has been to, if the person was speaking the same thing in 2 languages, that it was 3 minutes for 1 language. So I understand.
It's good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, up next is Courtney Elwa.
Good evening. Superintendent Morlock, Chairman and members of the board. On behalf of the parents and community members, I am here to address the behavior of board member Anthony Medina. It is shocking that there is zero accountability on behalf of the behavior that board member Medina has exhibited. Mr. Medina has shown the parents and community that he lacks responsible judgment,
decision-making, and choices. Mr. Medina has refused to provide the parents and community any explanation for his poor decisions and choices. From the first moment Mr. Medina made the choice to solicit services at the Woodburn Spa, he has not remedied his choices. Parents and the community have reviewed the police report. Parents and the community have watched the videotaped interviews. Mr. Medina had numerous opportunities to leave the situation that he himself declared as not normal. He had not one, not two, not three, not four, not five, not six, not seven, but more opportunities to leave the choice he had made. Yet Mr. Medina does not take responsibility for his choices. Mr. Medina has violated the board standards of conduct. Please hear me. The board standards of conduct, line 14, reads, a board member should refuse to bring personal family problems into board considerations. Mr. Medina sought out family members in an effort to intimidate them by bringing in religion, family status, and personal views. These very issues, disagreements related to the practices of the school board member. He violated the board standards. Again, his choices. After the Woodburn Spa situation, there were numerous times in the press where there were errors, misinformation, and lies. Mr. Medina still has done nothing to correct these lies. Mr. Morlock has made it clear one of two things can happen: a recall campaign or Mr. Medina can resign. We, the parents and community, strongly encourage the latter. Mr. Medina, you have broken the trust and violated the standard of conduct. The time to resign is now.
Up next, Julia Vera. Lisa Bauer Ortiz. We will move on to reports. First today is board reports. We start with Laura.
Good evening, board members and Superintendent Morlock. I've been dealing with a lot of personal issues, like health-wise and more losses in our community. Maybe Superintendent it's already aware of my colleague passing away on Friday. And so that's all we've been dealing with losses. So that's all my report for now. Thank you.
I had the opportunity to attend a few of the athletic events. I went to French Perry's volleyball game. And then, there was a soccer game last week, and so that was fun. It was my first real soccer game, aside from attending, a few years ago. But one of the exciting things that I had a chance to do a few weeks ago was go to a conference in Southern California. And so it was just neat to be around other Latino school board members and learn what they're doing in their school districts and how they're giving and what they're doing. And so it was a great networking opportunity, and just to sit with others who serve, because sometimes it's tough to sit and see here when others may not understand what it is to be a school board member.
I attended OSBA Board of Directors meeting, Oregon School Board Association, and assisted with high school first metro meeting. It was fun.
And, yeah, I've been to a couple volleyball games at French Prairie, Daughters, trying it out. Just go to see game one, them just having a tough time coordinating and knowing what to do, and I think it was maybe 3 or 4 games later, they were like really playing like a team and like getting into it, and pretty close, so it was a close game. It was just nice to see that growth. A lot of them learning other skills that you would pick up in the classroom. I also got the opportunity to meet with a Woodburn alum who's now working for OSU, Oregon State, as the outreach coordinator for their College of Engineering. And they want to do work out here and partner with the school district and community, and do some just more outreach to our students and recruit. And so just mostly just a good conversation on seeing what they want to do and where we're at and how we can help them. Yeah, next, Office of the Superintendent.
All right. Thank you, Chair Villanueva. I get the exciting opportunity to present on Division 22 standards very quickly. I'm going to read part of it, the whole thing, just so the public also knows what Division 22 standards are. On November 1 of each year, school district superintendents are required by Oregon Administrative Rule 581-022-2305, operating policies and procedures, to report to their communities and the district's standing with respect to all the standards for public elementary and secondary schools as set out in the OAR, Chapter 581, Division 22. So we call them lovingly Division 22 standards. And they're essentially all of the administrative rules that follow policy in ORS with their Oregon revised statutes. And then the rules are written after that to follow the law. And so these are the things that we're required by law to do in all of our schools, right? So it covers a huge range of things. When you have one that you are not in compliance with, you do need to report them, and you have to create an action plan. So I'm going to go through the 2 of them that we're out of compliance for. And this is for the 21-22 school year. So we were out of compliance on 581-022-2263, which is the PE requirements. You probably heard about this for many, many years. Our elementary schools did meet the required minutes. Our middle school, much like most middle schools in the state of Oregon, are struggling with the time. We did come to you earlier. It's been a few months that we are going to be building some outside structures, and our corrective action plan will be to be able to have the additional space. That's why we're building the structures, and then to add teachers at PE to be able to cover it. So we'll have enough minutes for students. Currently, they are receiving PE for the entire year, 6 to 8, but they still can't meet the minutes. So we'll get to that as soon as we have both space and then people to put in that space. Okay. The second one was on 581-022-2350. That's the independent adoption of instructional materials. So when the digital content was selected, the district did go through a process, and the programs themselves and the materials need to be approved by the school board, like all curricula. So as this program got launched, they got it done quickly in response to the family and student needs due to the ongoing pandemic and a need to have an online option for students. So we'll be working during this year for some long-term planning. We've already met a couple of different times to see what the future of that online program is, because we know we do have families that want either à la carte options or they want to have full online experience. We know we have students who are here in Woodburn who attend actually other online schools. So we're trying to figure out, are there ways for us to capture them here? So we'll be doing that long-term program. We will bring an independent adoption process to the board for the digital materials that are used within those programs. So you can adopt those. So that's our action plan for remediation of those. And then the rest of the sheets, as you can see, have all of those. If you use the PDF that we sent you, each one of those links will take you directly to that. The public can look at all. This report will actually go on our website, but then you can also see all of the Division 22 standards at the Secretary of State's website. And you can look up Division 22, Oregon, and they'll all come up and you can take a look.
Thank you.
Sometimes that will pay off because the video goes on, so.
You are not required to stay if you joined us for recognition or came out here to celebrate someone. Feel free to leave whenever you need to. You're welcome to stay, but you are not required.
That's good.
We have more items that we're gonna keep going.
We still have more over there. Pretty well. We'll wait.
No, I don't.
And during the transition, I'll invite Sarah Bishop, our Director of Business. See you. Good night. And Sarah will deliver our financial report.
Good evening, everyone. We have your typical financial report in front of me. This is usually the first month I present the first financial report for the fiscal year. The reason for that is because we want to run our first full payroll. So when you look in the percent spent and encumbered, that means we've now spent funds and we've now encumbered most of our funds for the year. You guys will probably recall from the budget meetings that most of what we budget in the general fund is for salaries and benefits. So when you see encumbrances in the 70 to 90%, that's really typical. Because all of the payroll is now essentially set aside for the year. So that budget has been set aside, so it's not spent on other things. So that is our general fund. I want to bring your attention to the ESSA report. It has certainly grown from the last time you guys have seen it. There's a lot more in here. You'll notice the 1,400 functions, our summer school functions. Those numbers have gone up considerably, and that's just what has been spent in this current fiscal year. So that's pretty exciting to see. We've spent quite a bit on summer school this year, and we have a really robust program. So I just wanted to draw your attention to that piece. You'll also see the maintenance numbers are higher, which is pretty typical because we're still doing some enhanced cleaning and sanitizing protocols as well. And then the report I wanted to spend a little more time on tonight is the enrollment report. As you can see, our numbers from this time last year for K through 8 is down quite a few students, but 9 through 12 is up considerably. So overall, our enrollment is up from this time last year, but it is down from last month. And that's pretty typical as we go throughout the year. We're going to see these fluctuations. So that's why I'm going to continue as we move forward to put these month to month and year to year comparisons. You can kind of see how that transitions throughout the year. But I thought that would be interesting to bring that to your attention. Again, overall enrollment is up over last year, so that's fantastic. 9 through 12 has seen the highest growth, with K through 8 declining. And that follows kind of the trends of our class sizes as well. Our bigger group is in the secondary.
How's our weighted average?
Our ADMW, it's
Our sped numbers are going up again, which is typical because through the pandemic, we weren't able to identify as many students. So now we're getting through the process of being able to re-identify the ones that were coming into our system. So that number is increasing. Our ESL students are staying about the same, maybe trending down a little bit, but nothing of significance right at this moment.
The numbers that we're looking at, are these what we expected and?
For our enrollment, it's a little bit lower than we anticipated, but not too far off. It's about 20 under what we anticipated.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your time.
Thanks, Sarah.
Now move on to confirmation items. We have meeting minutes from September 27th meeting. Personnel updates. Acceptance of gift donations, surplus property disposal report, and funding disposal and applications.
I move to approve the confirmation items as presented.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Confirmation items now confirmed. Board action items. Any old business? None. New business, we have board vacancy interviews and appointment for position 4.
Did you want me to arrange this with the with 5 together? So we can do? Okay. Here. Okay. You can take mine. Oh. Thank you. I'm here to read it out.
We invite all the applicants to please join us up here. Welcome. Thank you for applying and willingness to serve in the community. We have a questionnaire that you all should have in front of you.
Did we lose a couple of things? No,
I think I have it.
I gave mine up there. Because I don't.
Oh, no.
Well, there's 5 questions. The way this is gonna work is each one of you will get the opportunity to answer each question. We'll rotate, so it's not always in the same order. But just share what you'd like to share and try to answer the question to the best of your ability. And then it's just these questions, right? Okay. Okay. So, did we do introductions?
I think that's the need to do it.
Okay, so let's start with quick introductions. You can share your name. Let's start with you.
Just name or anything else you want to add?
Maybe what your role is in the community.
Role in the community.
Okay. Hi, Superintendent Morlock, Chair and board members. My name is Anabel Hernandez Mejia, she, they pronouns, and in the community, I am advocate and communications coordinator with Farm Worker Housing. Also community builder, so working directly with residents, migrant families, farm workers in general. I grew up in a farm worker family, and so that is my attachment with wanting to help them.
Good afternoon, Dalia Leiva Lopez. I've been my family, myself, I've been in Woodburn for probably, well, I'm 62. Moved up here from Texas, my parents moved up here from Texas in 1950. So I've been a resident here forever. My children graduated from Woodburn High. I'm actually running for mayor. So that's my role right now in the community. I am running for mayor. Personal connections, I volunteer at Loving on Cascade. I have volunteered with Neighbors and SUSN. And in doing that is giving back to the community. That's my portion of giving back to the community and assisting folks that don't have resources. So we're a resource that can help them out with clothing, food, and gas vouchers and whatnot. So that's what we do.
Good evening, my name is Janice Price, and I am a mother of 5 students currently in the Woodburn School District, and I'll have a 6th one coming up this way in a couple of years as well. My husband, my connection to the Woodburn schools, my husband taught in the school system for 11 years at the high school, was the head wrestling coach, I think, for 9 or 10 of those years. I don't remember the exact numbers. He has since moved to a different position in a different district, but I have tried to fully engage in the Woodburn community through the schools as well as in through community and my faith, and trying to serve my community in any capacity that I've been able to serve in.
I'm Colleen Benzel. I'm Colleen Benzel, and I wasn't born here, but pretty close. We've lived here for 50 years and have chosen to live in Woodburn because of its diversity and the opportunities that it would present to our children. And in the community currently, I serve on the city committee that advises the public art and mural additions to the city. And I'm currently president of the board at the Woodburn Art Center. And we are in constant outreach to senior population from the estates in the town, as well as through kids art. So once a week we have up to 15 kids that come in, and we also sponsor an art show for the art kids. So we fill the center, the real gallery, with their artwork and have a parent reception and all that kind of thing. I'm active in the community within our neighborhood and reaching out mainly for the betterment of kids. I'm a firm believer in education and the opportunities that education brings. And so if kids don't have supplies, we find if kids need rides or whatever, there's a group of people that help with that. I taught for 29 years in grades kindergarten through 8th grade. So boy, listening to the French Prairie principal, it's like, oh, I so remember that. You know, the girl drama and all the things that would go on during the middle school day. Let's see. Oh, what?
It's the intros right now. You'll get a chance to answer.
Oh, okay.
Later.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Amy Hoyt. My pronouns are she, her, hers. And I grew up in Woodburn and I graduated from Woodburn High School in 1995. But I went through all the schools here. I work and have kids that go to Lincoln Elementary, and they love their experience. They're thriving there, and I'm super happy and proud that they're part of the Woodburn School District. I personally volunteer and have a lot of time invested in disability inclusion and bringing people along with disabilities. And I really support the Woodburn School District's mission around diversity and inclusion for that. So, yeah.
Thank you. Again for being here. We'll start with the first question and let's go ahead and start with Ana, and we'll go in the same direction for this one.
All right, so interest in serving as the school board. I've collaborated with the school district here in Woodburn with the after school program in Cipriano Ferrell, and also with the preschool that they have there, and in the superintendent search committees that were held. So there's been several points already of contact there. And I, again, do bring usually mostly a farm worker, minority or Latino, Latinx lens for the most part, but I tend to be very inclusive and at the same time also really love serving my communities. As far as my connections with the school district, I have 2 daughters. One's in Lincoln 3rd grade, and I have another one in 8th grade over at French Prairie as well.
My interest in serving on the board. I would like to know that I guess I would call it the nitty gritty, because this is where it all happens, I believe. Within the schools inform me of what is needed, what is lacking, and I want to be part of a solution to schools, the students, staff. And I do not have anybody, and I do not have any connections because my kids are all grown. So I'm like 100% here.
Thank you. Education, I think, is the most powerful gift that we can give to any child. And I think it's the thing that allows them to make a difference in their own life and in the life of their community and in this world. And I'm passionate about education and passionate about children. And I would love the opportunity to continue my service in helping kids learn, to grow, to find their voice and find a way to express that voice in a way that empowers them in their own lives and in the communities in which they live. I do have 5 children in the district. I have kids in elementary school at Lincoln, kids at French Prairie, as well as a high schooler. And I think it gives me a unique perspective on the school district because my kids are all in these grades concurrently. So when I see what's happening in elementary school, I see where it's going to take in the middle school. Is the middle school supporting what's happening at the elementary school level, and then again into the high school? And I think that that gives me a pretty unique perspective on what's happening within the school district.
I'm interested in serving on the board because it's intriguing. The issues that come up, the things that you wrestle with, everything from financing to staffing to all that, it's an intriguing puzzle to get everything working right. I don't currently have any students in the Woodburn School District. Our son is a proud Woodburn graduate. And, but I offer a different perspective because I'm retired. And with the work with the Arts Center, I hear a lot of information about schools and it's being circulated out of senior states. Well, they're the most consistent voters in our city. And as with any backfence talk, a lot of it is not accurate. And so Lynn Reason, I spent a lot of time with people correcting and supporting and educating people. I would like to be on the board so that I have accurate information that I can contribute right away and be an ambassador for the school district with that population.
So I went and took a look at the mission and the vision and the values of the Woodburn School District. And I want to serve on the board to support that mission because I think it's impactful, it's important, and it's necessary. And contributing toward a just community, both local and global, is a pretty tall order. And I'd like to try and support that because I think it's super important. And I think that educating kids post-pandemic brings its own unique challenges and considerations. And I've seen that in the work that I do with both visible and invisible disabilities. And I'm talking mental health, and I'm talking the impact it has on people's ability to succeed. And I'd like to be a part of helping that be a success story for education for kids. And then also I feel like I've had a great experience as a product out of the Woodburn School District. I've gone on to, I've done, I farmed, put myself through college, but then I went to community college and I went to a public school. And then I, got my MBA at George Washington and then went on and have had a pretty good career. And I think that there's so much opportunity out there that I love to help support kids have a chance to experience. And if that's not the path they want to go of further education, what is the path that they feel just helps their skill set shine and allows them to be just the best people they can be and successful in life? And it doesn't necessarily have to be the same for everyone. So I just want to support that for them.
Thank you. I'm gonna read the questions just so people know their answers. So the next question is, can you tell us a little bit about your experience with public schools in Woodburn or elsewhere? This time we're gonna begin with you.
I had a great experience, I think, in Woodburn. I come back to this community after having been away for a long time and just am enjoying the embracing of diversity. It wasn't here when I was in school, and I certainly didn't learn Spanish. I went to Costa Rica to learn Spanish, but I didn't learn it having grown up in Woodburn. I think that was a myth. So to come back into the community and see how far that's gone is just amazing. So I had, I think, a window into all different types of people, and the ability to work and learn and grow with them has set me up in life for success. So I would say that my interaction with public school here has been a really good experience. I'd like to pass that on.
Okay. I went to private school as a child and then went into public school for high school, and that was quite a shock because private schools can be very sheltered. I graduated from high school, public college, and became a teacher. And so I spent my life basically in public schools through lots of several different schools, school districts, and grade levels. I taught everything from kindergarten through 8th grade, and each group has its advantages and challenges, and that's what makes it fun. Our son went through Woodburn schools all the way and graduated well-equipped to enter into the world and to do what he wanted. And he went to a private, very prestigious college and was only there for the first 6 weeks because he said, "Mom, they're either white or they're so rich, they're white." This is a kid from Woodburn. He had friends of all different colors. So he switched to Portland State Public University and found the diversity that he was used to. And that's exactly what we wanted him to grow up with, is an appreciation for different cultures, different backgrounds, and different experiences. So we were very happy with the Woodburn experience.
So I graduated from Canby High School, class of 2000, and had a wonderful experience there. My husband began teaching in Woodburn after we moved around for college and other experiences, began teaching in Woodburn in August of 2010. At the time, we were taking care of my parents' home in Canby, so our oldest son began school in Canby. But as my husband taught here, he said, "You need to come check out Woodburn. You need to come see what this is about." And I'm going to be honest, it was a hard sell to get me to move to Woodburn because of all of the rumors I had heard as a child growing up in Canby about Woodburn schools. And but we made the decision that we wanted to be a part of the same community that he taught in, and he was passionate about it. My son entered Woodburn schools in 2nd grade, having had no Spanish experience, but we said if we're coming to Woodburn, that's what we want him to have, is that dual language program. So we begged and pleaded and said, "Please give us at least 6 weeks. He's a good student. He can do this. Please let him try." And after 6 weeks, they said, "He'll be fine. He'll be fine." And so all of our children have been a part of the dual language program, which has been important to me because speaking a second, a third, fourth language opens up the door to meeting and knowing and understanding so many more people. I think it's a tremendous gift that I can give my kids, this opportunity for a second language. And then hopefully that will be the door for them to learn additional languages later on, to be able to connect with other people. Since then, I have volunteered in the schools in the classroom, helping teachers in whatever way they've needed. I've served on Millenier Site Council when my children were at Millenier, and then I became the president of the Friends of Millenier Parent Organization for 2 years. There had been a parent organization. For some reason, it had dissolved, and there was a need for a new parent organization. So I stepped in, and we had a wonderful experience. Put on monthly family activities and an end of the year culminating carnival, which I involved as many people from our community I could, including the fire department, police department, public library, our parks and rec department, golf team, soccer team, cheerleading team, golf team, theater department, anybody I could come and pull in so that it would be a tremendous community event. That's what I did. And it was rewarding seeing so many people come together for a common cause and to come together to enjoy our community. And I really enjoyed that experience. Since then, I've served on the superintendent search committee, which was a really enlightening and rewarding experience. And my background is in public education. I'm a math teacher by training. And I taught at a community college, public community college for a time as well. And education is just what I love. And it's what I've put my whole heart and soul to as a mom as well. Even though I've set my teaching career aside, education is what I do with my kids in every moment and every way I can.
The experience I had in the Woodburn Public Schools was back when my boys were in high school, and I have two strong-headed boys. And at the time, the schools were small schools. I think we've gone back to normal, which is what I call normal. And they were a blessing in disguise for both my kids. I have one that had social issues. So putting him in a little school was it was successful for him. So he made it, he graduated, he made it. My other son also graduated, and the small school was definitely good for him. It was a good experience for him. It was a good experience for me, in that the teachers at that time, I think Ms. Federico is no longer with us, I'm not too sure, but did not give up on him and said, Mark Anthony, you can do it. You're going to be a success. So long story short, graduated, went on to Chemeketa, they both did. And they both, they have a small company, Mark and Gilbert Construction LLC, that I'm very proud of. So they did make it after all. And it was all because of the school and the instructors of the school that never, ever gave up on them. I have worked in the educational field and social service field for probably 35 years. Salem, Jervis, Woodburn. And what my experience in between Salem and Woodburn is oh my gosh, and I don't want to sound, Salem almost has it a little bit more together than Woodburn does, just a little bit. We're getting there, but it has it a little bit more together. As our parent involvement groups, I was a parent outreach coordinator, so our parent involvement groups were always a hit. We had the auditorium always full. When my boys were in school, it was here and there, hit and miss. Some parents would come in, you know, I would say maybe a handful of parents were there at the conferences or at meetings or whatnot. So it was really sad because I worked at Salem School District, and then I had to come into Woodburn and I go, what is going on? Why aren't we getting the parents to come in? I'm not understanding. I hear good things now. So those are my experiences.
In my case, I grew up in a public school. It was back in California, but still grew up. One of the things I can say is I remember being in 3rd grade and just mid-year, all of the Spanish, of course, Spanish was like first language, being cut completely from the program. And so coming to Woodburn and seeing everything that was available for the students, I've been in awe. And that's part of, again, why, well, going back to the first question, but as far as the other experience too, over at Nuevo Amanecer, Colonia Unidad and Esperanza Court, there are several youth that will either do volunteer, and I end up working with them, giving them, I'm supposed to be writing a letter of recommendation, as well as some of these high schoolers are now graduating and planning on going to college. So doing some of that, incorporating some of that, and also making the connections for programs, OSU extension programs for their STEM activities and such, being able to, again, I'm a little bit of like, it's a loca soñadora, where I throw out ideas and people first like just think that's way out there, but then the more I repeat it, the more it seems realistic. And so again, it's trying to provide that connection for the youth to be able to see that these things are definitely possible. And that, I mean, again, that's the area where I tend to work mostly with the students and that connection with the school district as well.
Question number 3 is, what do you see as the most critical trends for the future facing public education in the Woodburn School District today? And this time, we will start with Janice and work our way around.
Thank you. I think one of the biggest trends that we're seeing is lack of re-engagement into education by students and by parents. I think the pandemic really shook things up. For some families, parents jumped right in and took charge. In other families, for a variety of reasons, they may have chosen not to or may not have been able to and help engage their kids in education. And so it's been challenging for kids to come back. And when you fall behind, you lose momentum. And it's hard to rebuild and to regain that momentum, whether you're a student or parent, or even as a teacher. When you have students that come into your class so far behind, how do you work, like, how do you keep them motivated? How do you keep them going when you have other kids that are going and are on grade level or advanced? And I think that's just really challenging. So I think, one of the big challenges is re-engaging families in our schools. Because the schools were shut down, because we couldn't, go into our schools and participate in the school system like we used to, it's going to take a lot of effort to re-engage families in that experience. I also think parental support to go along with that is lacking in our community. I think there's a variety of reasons why that may be the case. Some parents may not feel like they have the skill set or the capacity or the time, but our students will only progress will progress faster and further when there is support at home. That doesn't mean that every parent's going to be able to support their child in the same way, but there is something that every parent can do to support their child in their education, to value their education, and to help that child be successful in their education. And I think that that's something that we really can do better of as a district, is re-engaging families and providing parents with the training and support they need so that they can know how to support their students at home.
This way. I see two major issues for the district and for education both. One is, first off to me, is finding staff that agree and wholeheartedly will enter into the strategic plan and further it down the road. The second thing is catching our kids up. They suffered a lot. You think of a third grader who basically had never been to school. They missed 2 years of very formational education. And so to me, those two things would be the main focus of working with the kids, working with staff to recruit the staff that support our plan and have the skills and knowledge that we need. And then the third, of course, would be parents, getting the community together.
I'm actually gonna agree with Denise on the whole pandemic piece and kind of build on it, that we said to kids during the pandemic that education wasn't necessarily a priority, and go home, take care of yourself, take care of what's happening in your immediate world, and we'll fit education in around that. And so kids in some ways heard the message that that's where it needed to sit in priority. And then they're asked to come back into the classroom and reprioritize that and re-gear up for that and say, hey, this is the biggest and most important thing. And they're struggling to understand the switch in the dialogue so quickly. And also the impact it has on their mental health. You ask a kid to not touch anyone, not go near anyone, and all of a sudden to put them in an engaging environment where they're supposed to act and be in a normal developmental age bracket is really hard. It's hard on their mental health, and it's hard on their ability to interact in an age appropriate way. And even to have those norms of, a senior might tell a freshman, this is how you're supposed to behave, and reinforce those social norms in the school system. And that's not happening, or has been disrupted and happening, and able to figure out how they should interact. We've just seen the implications of that even, and what I've seen in my own kids' environment. And then just back to the community and the parental engagement pieces. I mean, I've moved and I've been in other school districts, and there is that parental engagement piece that's so important, and love to foster that and figure out how to develop that more so that they're also feeling as invested in the school system as the people that are working there. And finally, back to mental health on the social media impact that it has on kids. And we heard that from the French Prairie principal, I believe, that it definitely impacts in unique ways, and to get in front of that so they can put their education first, I think is super important.
Back to me. Woodburn is growing. There are developments, departments, everything being constructed. I know that the schools just finished growing as well, but that's gonna be something we're gonna still look at in the future. There's that. There's also the high school. How is it going? Because it went from being the 5 different little schools back to the big one school. And with that, also the teachers, obviously, as it was being said earlier, we have a very good dual language program, not only Spanish, we have Russian, we have staff that are trilingual, if not even more, and making sure that we do not lose that, que no seamos conformistas in that aspect, and that we strive to maintain the integrity of the program, and that, and then going back to what everyone's been saying, some of that parent engagement, also making sure that youth are definitely keeping up their mental health with all the different things that are going on. It's not just health versus from COVID, but then there's other issues that we've been seeing, obviously, even at the national level with violence and making sure that everybody's safe, that everybody feels comfortable being able to come out and speak out. So it makes me happy seeing that the schools are at least integrating some clubs, like the ones that were mentioned in French Prairie. I am well aware of the table games or D&D, and then the Ally Club. So those spaces where students, and then the last interview I had mentioned, I consider myself an outsider. When you have those students that are not, and as a French Prairie principal mentioned, they're good students, they're making good choices. However, there's no way to sort of reach to them, because the ones that go to the top, you already have that contact, you have that connection, but then you have all those other students that are not necessarily very active, outspoken. And so how do you create these other spaces that bring them out and make them feel comfortable as well?
I would have to agree with you on that. The students are first. When they walk into that door, I believe they need to feel safe. I feel they need to feel safe. The programs are good. The bilingual programs are good. Preparing our kids to graduate with good grades, it can get them into college, it can get them into university, it's got to be first and foremost as well. Our community is still a farming migrant community, and working with migrant families in Washington County, Marion County, it's still difficult to get our parents to come in because of their work schedule. I had parents coming in. I worked until 10 o'clock many nights because I needed to make sure that the parents knew how their kids were doing in school, successes or failures, whatever it was. But engaging the parents, I don't know. I have no idea how to do that anymore. I really do not know how to do that anymore. I don't know if I'm looking to you, because I don't know if the migrant parents are still working difficult hours and not able to make conferences or able to assist their students. There's also that lack of the lack of understanding our education understandings, math, reading, writing. A lot of the folks that I worked with didn't have a first grade level education, so they couldn't help their students. And their students, they were not necessarily failing, but they were not getting the attention that was needed by the teachers. So if we could just work all of it together, additional assistance in the afternoons or tutors that are at no cost. Anything to engage the parent, to bring the kids back into the school, to say, hey, this is where I want to be. This, I'm having fun, I'm learning. And also the parents to bring it back in and get to know the staff and ask for help and be comfortable about asking for help. And then also, I was trying to remember the Spanish-speaking folks that I worked with, and their children, while attending Chemeketa, I had a rude awakening, because The students that were graduating from Woodburn High at that time, they weren't able to compose a sentence at Chemeketa Community College, and it was really sad for me to see that. Because it was, where did you graduate from? Woodburn High. And I would go, did you actually sit down with your English teacher, and did they actually show you how to do, like, put a period or whatever question mark? And it was no. It was no, really, there's too many students in a classroom and I couldn't get all the attention that I needed. So the first term was difficult because I spent too much time assisting the students, and I would say a handful of students that graduated from Woodburn High School. So I don't want that to happen anymore. I want them to be prepared, not just here's your graduation diploma. I want you to be prepared to go to college from then on, university or a career. I want them to be prepared. I don't want them to say lack of because my teacher didn't have enough time or my teacher didn't understand me. And
two more questions. This next one is, what are the most valuable contributions Woodburn School District makes to the community and why? What are some areas where you believe Woodburn School District can improve? This time, again, we will begin with Janice, but we'll work our way the opposite.
All right. Valuable contribution Woodburn School District makes to the community and why. I think certainly cultural awareness. I know for my kids, if you don't come from a multicultural home, it's been a blessing to them. They, were in Mrs. Boyd's classroom, participated in her dance, her dance groups, and have developed such a deep love for the rich culture and heritage that they've been exposed to through their education. And that's not something that I could have given them because it's not my heritage. But for Mrs. Boyd and other wonderful teachers to be able to share that with them, and then for my kids to love and appreciate that and to want them to participate in it has been just such a wonderful thing. And I think that's something that Woodburn schools can offer. Is a great contribution to our world, because when we're aware of other people, then it allows us to have a more global perspective. It allows us to understand when somebody responds a certain way, well, I may think they're doing it for this reason, but there's probably another reason why they're doing it. And if I can learn to understand their reason for doing it, then I'm going to respond to them in an appropriate way, and we can build a relationship and we can find solutions. And so I think that cultural awareness is huge, that opportunity to learn a second language, whether that is Spanish or Russian, is powerful, it's impactful. My husband learned Spanish after he graduated from high school. Every job he's had since he's graduated has been because of his Spanish language skills. But what a wonderful way for him to be able to connect with so many more people. I think that some areas that Woodburn schools can improve is the preparation for life. Because of my husband's connection with so many high school students, they've come back into our home, into our lives. And I'm sad to say that many of them have floundered after high school, have struggled to find what was right for them, whether it's an occupation, a trade, or going to school. Many of them have enrolled in college and dropped out of college. And I think that Woodburn can improve in that area where we can really prepare kids for life. It's not going to be the same for every kid. Not every kid's going to follow the same track, but there is more that we can do to help them develop the life skills that they need to be successful in whatever area it is, and to have a plan and a vision of what awaits them in the future, instead of just saying high school is the end, because it's not. High school is just the beginning of real life. I mean, it's just the beginning of it all. I think one thing that we can improve on is our parent engagement. And I think that means we're going to have to think outside the box. Not every parent can participate in a parent club, nor do they want to or have the skill set to do that. So what is it that our parents can do? We have a lot of parents that own their own business, lots of landscaping companies. Could we have them come and have a day where we as families improve our school grounds by planting flowers or other things like that? That's a wonderful way for any parent to get involved with a skill set that they may feel that they have. We hosted a dance night for one of our Million Year Family activities. afterwards, after our first dance night, parents can say, I'm a DJ, next year I want to DJ, and I want to bring my lights, and I want to just, what a wonderful way for them to contribute to our community. So I think that one thing that we can do is really start to think outside the box of how can we engage parents. It's not going to be the same, but we have really talented and gifted parents in our community. What can we do then with those gifts and talents that they have to draw them in and to make our schools our community centers once more?
Is it me? I'm on the hot seat.
Your turn.
Darn it. I love the idea of the bilingual programs. Those weren't available when I was in school. It was English and that was it. I am still learning the Spanish language. I struggle quite a bit, but I get it. It's, you know, I do the Tex-Mex that chop it up really good. And I get my parents that I work with and they'll say, no, that's not the way you say it. Or, oh no, you shouldn't have said it that way. You know, it's like a tone. So I'm proud. I as a Mexicana, I'm really proud that this is that our kids have this opportunity. My boys didn't have that opportunity. And at home, we didn't speak Spanish because, well, born in Texas, you weren't supposed to speak Spanish. That's just the way it was. You just were not supposed to speak Spanish. And then growing up in St. Paul, that was even a no, you weren't supposed to speak Spanish. And then going to Catholic school, we get hit if we spoke Spanish. So it was like, what do you do? So my boys now have learned that. And it's a skill, as you said. So now they know it. We help each other. My sisters have all married. My brother-in-laws are from San Jeronimo and Mexico City. So we got the real Spanish now. So we have lifelines that we can call and say, okay, this is what we can do. So I am so totally impressed with that Woodburn has to offer our kids. And I would have to piggyback on what you say. We really do need to do something to involve the parents as much as we can. They do have talents that they can bring to our school. If they're not able to make it to a conference or a meeting or do not have the time, maybe on a Saturday, get them involved some way and say, hey, this is your contribution. This is how you give back to the school.
Right. I like the part, you know, Denise, and that was one of the things is that the schools are one of those spaces where children are going to be able to break bread. And as a community builder, that creates a space for all youth to be able to connect and also learn from each other, whether again, it's Latino community, Russian community, everyone else here in town, to gain those different perspectives and lens so that they are equipped with them when they are an adult. And so with that, not only that, I actually university, so I really like that, and being able to provide at least opportunities for parents to be able to come in. I know, and I've gotten a couple emails now for holding meetings over at Nuevo Amanecer, and so I like that there's that attempt and intent to reach out and meet where the parents are at, where you know that there's already those spaces and trust to be able to get parents in there. So I really appreciate that. And as far as, and the other one too is I really love also the opportunities that a lot of the high schoolers will tell me that they're going over to Salem, you know, they're learning and becoming like nail technicians and all these other things so that they can already start planning, you know, in the future what they're wanting to become. And, you know, I get some odd combinations sometimes as nail technician and police officer at the same time, but that's great because they're leaving and they're, you know, they're graduating high school with some skill sets already that they can apply. Within that, at the same time, I will still say, you know, to avoid el conformismo, to still reach out and want to improve and make these even better. Potentially some other options of, you know, job shadowing and such, so that youth do not necessarily feel like they have to promise themselves to this whole career and graduate and realize that they don't like it, because I've seen that happen. So maybe a little bit more of those type of opportunities to learn about and see what it's really going to be like in that profession that they're potentially romanticizing too. And so there's that. And again, with the dual language programs, not only Spanish, also Russian, making sure that they still and continue to maintain the integrity of those programs as they graduate and grow up, so that it is one of those, sought after and looked upon as far as other schools and districts as to how it is that we're doing. So maintaining that for sure. And I gotta say, actually, I have to go back and, grow your own program, going beyond that, and also growing your own leaders. So once they become teachers, what can you do beyond that so that they can then be the next assistant principal, principals, and so on and so forth.
And the most valuable contribution, I think, is that this school district is actually paving the way in a lot of ways and a leader in embracing the diversity that we have here versus trying to figure out how to manage it. So I think that that can come with good things, and that can also be difficult because there's not a whole lot of role models out there to go after as far as figuring out how to do this well and how to lead well in this space. And I would say that what is the strength is also the challenge, right? You have a lot of people that are coming from diverse backgrounds with different levels or understanding of where education should fit within their lives, and getting that parental engagement, back to that same theme, goes also into how do you help them feel comfortable if they don't have an education and they're being asked to come in. It just isn't comfortable. It brings out insecurity to say, you want me to come and contribute when I want you to teach my child more than I know, and I want you to do better than what I've had offered. So why are you engaging me to come into a system that I'm not feeling very equipped to engage with? And so meeting them where they are, showing how valuable their contribution is into the process, and helping them in that journey to make them feel that they can come to a meeting and be as they are and present as they are is the value add is super important. So I think the aspect of encouraging diversity and allowing people to bring their whole selves into the education system, but also engaging the parents to support that and also feel that it's a challenge and it's a contribution at the same time.
Okay, contributions are vast to me living in this town. Not only does the school district teach kids to read and to write and to do math, they also treat them to the experience of all the cultures that come into our schools, and to learn to appreciate another's culture, not judge it, and then carry that on into their adulthood. There are so many things as I drive like down the highway in front of the high school, a lot of times you see kids happy. They've had the whole day at school, they're tired, but they're coming out with their friends with smiles on their faces, looking like they've had a good day. Other high schools in other towns, you see the high schoolers leave, for instance, and they're like snarling at each other and poking each other, and just, it feels like they haven't had a very good day at school. Woodburn consistently, there are happy kids going home. And I think that that's a good thing for the school district to encourage, because kids are not judged by their families. They're accepted and treasured and loved. Then they hit school, and it's judgments and judgments and judgments. And sometimes they're judged on their families, they're judged on their personalities, their behaviors, all that. And it can become very unpleasant. But Woodburn should be welcoming, should be secure, not just in the wild threats that are around, but they should be able to feel free to be themselves, to be honored for that. The areas that Woodburn could improve, you can always do more, do better, you don't have to be sick to get better. we do set the pace pretty hard for other districts. This is a hard thing to do, and people here work hard every day. And parent involvement isn't successful for a lot of people when you expect them after working all day to get dressed and go to someplace that they're not very secure in. And so it doesn't have to be come to a meeting. But if they do, it should be fun. There should be some welcome, there should be some happy stuff, just like the middle school wants a child to feel like they missed something if they miss school. Well, parent meetings and parent events should also be something that adults don't want to miss. But it can also be very small things. When I was teaching little kids, my Spanish was not very strong. I took it in high school because my dad made me. I didn't think I'd ever use it. I wanted to take Russian, but he said that I would never use that. So that's a whole nother discussion. But I wanted to improve my Spanish. And I had several children from one family. And so I made a deal with Senora Marcos that we would talk twice a week. She was a home care provider with I think 12 kids that she watched every day. She's not going to come to meetings. She's not going to do the formal stuff at school. So we made a deal. She wanted to learn English. I wanted to improve Spanish. So twice a week during my prep period, I would call her and we talked for 10 minutes. She could only talk in English and I could only talk in Spanish. And both of us met our goals. And we've been friends for years and years. And when one of the kids that I taught got in trouble in high school, it was me that she came to help. What can she do? Where can she go? Who will help her? And so it was one of those moments as a teacher that is what you worked for, those slot machine rewards where you can really help someone. But like I say, you don't have to be sick to get better. There's always places to improve, but there are only so many hours a day. And so you have to do timing and dosage to move forward, but you got to keep moving forward.
Okay, and we are now at the last question, which is there anything you would like to ask the board or anything else you would like to add? We'll finish off the way we started, so begin with another and work our way down.
All right. My question to the board would be, what is the biggest challenge you see, you believe the board is facing now, and what are you seeking also most from the next board member?
Start. Okay, let's start. Biggest challenge, I think, I'll speak personally about myself. I'm new to the board. I joined in the spring. I wasn't quite sure what all it would take. So just coming on board, learning to work with colleagues, with Superintendent Warlock. There's a lot that you don't know as a community member. And then so it's a big learning curve there, but it's also very rewarding in the sense that we are able to build something. You all mentioned great things about the kids growing and becoming someone and involving parents and families. And so being able to be a part of that in a formal setting, it's nice to walk out there and be recognized, but always just try to keep in mind that there's a responsibility that comes with it. So challenges is learning, getting up to the speed, and then just the reward and being able to serve. And then the next piece, what we look for in a future board member, just someone with the desire to serve the community and to look at challenges with ingenuity and the desire to solve problems, but also to be present and connect with the students we serve and and the staff, and also just a good team player and someone who's willing to hear other opinions and is able to share their own.
Thank you.
Talk about some challenges. There's certainly a lot of challenges in our public education system, particularly in a post-pandemic environment. And so I'm looking for someone who would be a champion for public education and see in Oregon, but across the country, attacks from our public education system. And I'm interested in someone who's here to fight on behalf of our students, on behalf of our communities, and on behalf of our public.
And what you seek in the next board member?
Someone who's willing to fight on behalf of our public.
Thank you.
I can go. Thank you for your answers and thank you for the question. For me personally has been the adaptation, adapting to new changes, to all the changes that we have been faced with. So to me, that's the one of the biggest challenges. And what I'm seeking in the next board member is a team player. And team player is not a person that goes along with everything, but a person that builds trust. So having the trust among ourselves, among the team, that is a gain. Thank you.
Thank you. And for me, the challenge, I mean, I think like it was mentioned, there's a lot the community doesn't know about this position. And so coming onto it and just one, learning and living it and experiencing it, I think is a challenge. And it's, I still continue to learn. And so, let's see, and what am I looking for in a board member? It's, and I'll be quite honest, I don't know that I have an exact answer. I think when I think the lens that I'm looking through is, what are the challenges that our school district is facing? What are the needs? And what are our current strengths? And what are our current weaknesses? And how can a new board member fit into that and be part of this group, as opposed to having the same voice, the same ideas, and the same everything. And so it's like, who is a good fit for what we already have and offer to our community? So that's what I'm thinking.
First of all, I just want to say thank you to the school board and Superintendent Warlick and Jenny, because everybody knows without the right person behind the scenes, you can't get the job done well. I have served in a lot of different leadership capacities through my church particularly, all of which were volunteer and all of which I was asked to do, not that I didn't apply for them. I was approached and asked to do them. And I know that when you serve in a volunteer capacity, there is a lot that other people don't know. There's a lot that other people don't see, and your job is to present that face of confidence, of assurance, and of continuity that we can move forward, that we're progressing. And so I just want to say thank you for the work that you do. I know that there's a lot that goes into it that other people don't understand. I was visiting with a friend the other day, just mentioning that I had applied for this. And I said, I have never once heard anyone be complimentary of a school board member, ever. Even when they have been doing a fantastic job. Like, the only thing we ever hear about school board members is what people are unhappy with, right? So I just want to say thank you, because I think that you have been, doing a good job. I think our school board is more representative of our community now than it certainly was when I first moved in to Woodburn. And I think that's really powerful. And I hope that it continues.
I don't really have any questions. And you can see from my application that I have been on this Woodburn School Board for 10.5 years, but that was 15 years ago. A long time. The kids that have gone, somebody could start in kindergarten the year I ended my school board tenure, and they would have graduated from college by now. It's a different scenario, so please don't think that I would be retreating back to the old stuff. I enjoyed that time. We built heritage in Valor. We started the bilingual program. I was on the first strategic planning committee as a new board member. Boy, was that in education. And so there are good things that are continuing, and I love seeing that they've continued. But this is a new time, and so I'm interested in the work of school boards, and I understand the role and the community relationship with school board members. I quit grocery shopping while I was on the school board because it took me hours to get through the grocery store by the time everybody stopped to talk about what was going on. So I understand those things, but I'm certainly a different person, and the school district is different. And when I served on the board, there were no Latinos on the board. And I said repeatedly that if somebody would run against me from the Latinx community, I'd resign. And so it thrills me to see so many people that are actively representational.
Okay, we made it. Next is the voting.
Maybe head back to them.
Okay, yeah.
For the last
Feel free to
couple
move back if you'd like.
Let's just see.
I
can help you Thursday.
Okay, we're now gonna proceed to the voting. Jenny's gonna help facilitate this process.
I did include the policy for how you proceed with vacancies on the board and also how the voting will work. And just, I briefly wanted to mention that this position will serve until June of 2023. And so anyone can run in the May election to start July 1st of 2023 for this position. So this person will serve until the end of this school year. And then as far as voting, so because you have more than two candidates, 2 or 3, I think it is, 3. So if you go down to the AR on 5B, so when there's three or more candidates, the board will vote until you have 2 candidates. And so when we go through the first round, you will vote for 2 applicants.
And then if we have the top two, then we'll go to the next round, round two, and then you'll vote for one. So we'll continue to vote, you'll continue to vote for two until you have two candidates left. I do lastly want to mention that you don't have to do this tonight. I just added to the agenda, so it's really up to you. You can table it, but that's up to the board as a consensus. But if you're ready to move forward, I can just go through the voting. You can also have discussion now, or you can have discussion after the first round. My recommendation would be to have a discussion prior to you starting to vote.
We can open it up to discussion. If anyone have any thoughts? Comments they'd like to share?
I can share, I think, as kind of mentioned earlier, is, as a board, like what are our strengths and what are those gaps that need to be filled and what are we looking for? What's our plan? That's what we want.
My thoughts are kind of on the same lines, but also like, does it fall on us to make that plan or does the community make that plan? And I look forward to working with whoever gets elected tonight, and hope that they run an election and man's well. That's second part of it is not only the decision we make, but ensuring that the community supported it as well.
You good, Lana? That's a good question about strengths and gaps. Haven't thought about it much. Part of it is just it's doesn't get asked very often, I guess. I appreciate that we have 5 applicants. I think that says a lot about the community, that people want to be involved. I'm not sure if that's the norm, but it's a good thing. So, and then I think you'll have, all the applicants had strong responses and unique experiences. So for me, it's just working to select the best one and give someone the opportunity to serve alongside us for the remaining of the year. And yeah, the election is a whole nother thing, and you'll get to decide if that's something you want to pursue or not. Do we want to have more discussion, or do we want to do the first voting?
Jenny, so I don't know if you've done this several times. Do the rules talk about if there's a three-way tie in round one, what happens? Do other folks fall off and then we revote?
So if there's more than 3, so let's say you have 4 people, 3 or more, you'll continue to vote for 2 until you have less, until you have 2. So we'll go to the next round, and let's say you have 3, then you would still vote for 2 people.
2 of those 3 remaining.
2 of those 3 remaining, yes.
Okay, yeah, that's not correct.
And then until you get 2 candidates, then you get 1 vote.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. And I gave you an example of like how I'm gonna tally them. Last time we went to 10 rounds, but I didn't include all those spaces there, so I'll keep adding if I need to, but I just kind of put how I'll tally. So I'll read your name and then you can give me your top 2 of who you're voting for. So Gustavo,
Anabel and Janice.
Laura? I knew it. Annabelle and Colleen.
Noemi,
Jenny and Amy.
Anthony,
Colleen and Annabelle.
so in round 2 of voting, you are moving down. Let's see, Colleen Vansel, Annabelle Hernandez Mejia, and Janice Price. So we still have more than or 3 or more, and so you'll still give me your top 2 from those 3, from Colleen, Annabelle, Janice. Okay. And we'll start with Laura.
Colleen, Annabelle.
Noemi,
Janice and Colleen.
Anthony,
Colleen and Annabelle.
Gustavo,
Annabelle, Janice.
okay, so in round 3, you're moving Colleen Vansel and Annabelle Hernandez. So now you'll vote for 1. Noemi,
So. Can we have a discussion?
Yeah.
So this is my thing, and I think Anthony mentioned to it, that the community can decide later and vote. But this is my thing, and I said it before, is that it's my opinion and my very strong opinion, that politics should not play a role in the school board. And so for that reason, I have concerns for those who were selected. I'm not quite sure why, some of the other candidates. So I don't have a vote.
And you said that we need the skills, right? So we have 3 professionals right there sitting down. Gustavo, Noemi, and Anthony. We need people from the community. That's why we need those voices.
And I hear you, Laura, and I think it's important to have the voices from the community. But when activism and politics is involved, I question, I have a lot of questions. And that's just where I am with that. I mean, I hear you all and I respect your choices, but that's what my question was.
Mhm.
and so I just want to, now I have to mention this, because Noemi won't be voting, the 3 of you, the rest of you have to have a consensus, so you have to have, since you have to have a majority. So just FYI.
So then would I just vote no for the
Mhm.
next one?
You would just, you would be a no vote. So that's why the 3 of them would have to have the same person, because then it's a 3-1 vote.
So then would you include in the minutes my explanation for why? my vote is no?
Yeah, I can do it. Anthony? So now you're voting for one person. Gustavo,
Hello.
Laura,
Annabelle.
then do you want to read that last sentence that I have?
Let's start.
The appointment, so Annabelle. Has 3 votes. And one, we'll call yours abstaining.
Can you just say no?
You want to no vote? Okay, no vote.
Yeah. you know that.
Oh, right here on the, so Annabelle is appointed to position 4.
Okay, okay.
The 3-1 vote.
Okay, Anabel Hernandez Mejia has been appointed to position 4 with a 3-1 vote.
And I just want to share that although my vote is a no, that I can be a team player, that I am willing to listen, and even though I may not agree, that I can work with people who I just do well. I don't expect to be liked. I don't expect, but I would like mutual respect.
So, Annabelle will be sworn in at the next meeting.
So we are gonna move into an executive session now. Thank you all for joining. You can come back after the executive session. Open session? Future agenda items, there are none. And the board calendar, we have a regular board meeting on the 8th of November. And the work session with OSBA on the 29th.
We're switching those 2 meetings in November.
Okay.
So we're
But this
having
is correct.
OSBA in early November?
On the 29th of November.
Normally, the work session would be the 29th. Yeah,
Normally the work session would be on the 8th.
on the 8th, sorry.
This is where we say cold, right?
No, you're.
We haven't done that. It's like they all the.
Oh, yeah. And then she's going over superintendent evaluation tool.
Probably. And then we have the conference that week.
On the 8th, so the 8th will be a regular meeting, and then we have the conference.
Right.
How's that meeting? What is it? Pretty busy.
Where are our notes on? I don't think so.
No.
We just have this one, so usually when they're back to back like this.
Oh.
We will have schools that we need to tell that they're having their report early.
That'll be all right. Talk about their favorite people. It's fine.
Yeah, so far we don't have anything, we just have school reports.
Meetings adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.